Hello, my name's Artemis, and this is a very scaled down, shorter, kind of condensed video because it's a very exciting time of the year where we have a social life and there's lots of things going on, including a certain someone special coming to the UK for the first time, wrapped up with a convention, and it's just generally busy. So yeah, I was actually smart and thought, we should plan ahead and schedule a bunch of shit, and this is what we're doing. But that does mean that we're going to have to scale things back just a little bit on production side of things just to get it all done. So yeah, that's my excuse for this video not being as grandiose as usual. But there's been plenty of things on my mind lately, such as, you know, my time in the fandom and what it's all meant, and then versus now, and obviously I thought that's good fuel for the fire of content, and that's what we're going to have a look at, because I've learnt a lot of things being in this fandom. It's taught me a great deal, and I thought I would bestow that wisdom upon you all as well, or just talk about it. Basically the same thing. Now, one of the most obvious things that it's taught me is costuming can be fucking hard work. It can be intensive. Now, obviously some of these points are going to be a lot more philosophical than others, so we're going to start off with an obvious practical one, and that's that, you know, having a fursuit and whatnot has a lot of things with it, and, you know, it gave me a lot more respect for the people who do it for a living, because heat and humidity, lack of vision, and just generally everything, it's a lot. And the fact that we pay thousands to enjoy this whole thing really shows our dedication, I think, because god damn. It's also taught me not to judge people. I used to be very judgmental, but, you know, coming up through life and whatnot, you tend to use it as a survival instinct almost. If you have something weird about yourself, it's easier to deflect people's judgments off onto someone else. But ultimately, if the fandom has taught me anything, it's to just really not give a shit and not judge people. People are into a lot of weird stuff, but it's only weird by my standards. You know, if it's not hurting anyone, if it's legal and between consenting adults, then fine. Whatever, fill your boots. And that has translated to all parts of my life. You know, there were people that I would look at in public and judge harshly in my mind and be very much like, oh, you look fucked up wearing that outfit, girl. But that's a really negative mindset to be in. And it kind of poisons your mind a little bit to be consistently picking out the flaws in other people, things that they are and things that they like. And ultimately, who gives a fuck? It's not down to me or anyone else to give a shit. So I don't anymore. Everybody can just be who they are, how they want to be, because it doesn't affect me, so why bother judging? Quite an obvious one here. Social media can be incredibly toxic if you don't manage it properly. Now, obviously, this isn't exclusive to the fandom, but it was the fandom that brought it about, and this kind of has 2 to 3 meanings of it. Now, it can be very toxic in terms of the people you interact with. Obviously, when you have the mask of anonymity, people can hide all of the shitty character traits that they have and put on this false image of who you're actually dealing with, and that can be not so fun, not so great, but also it exposes you to an awful lot of things. It exposes you to stuff that in your day-to-day you wouldn't see. And social media is all about clicks, and the worse the thing is, the more clicks it gets, which means you can end up with a feed full of just nihilistic despair, depression, and anxiety-inducing shit. Just a constant flow of things that make you panic and hate the bloody world and how everything runs. And if you don't manage that properly, if you don't, you know, detach yourself from it and cultivate your feed properly, you can really end up dragging yourself down. Like, that was a learning curve and a half. Same goes for the people. You know, you need to make sure you have a good sense of who it is you're actually dealing with, because if you fall in love with a character, you're gonna get stung. Setting boundaries and being selfish is actually a good thing. Now, obviously the being selfish thing, it takes a bit of explaining, but setting boundaries with people, who gets access to you, who doesn't, who deserves trust in your life and who doesn't, that is fucking important as hell. And for some reason, this fandom, a lot of people seem to expect a lot more trust than they earn, and they expect a more significant place in your life than they deserve. And it's not a matter of you being a dick and not letting them in, because it's down to you, ultimately, whether you want them to have this stance in your life. So if they demand it, they're already kind of showing that maybe they shouldn't have it. But the selfish one, oh yeah, this is a difficult one because, well, a lot of people like to throw the whole you're being selfish around when you're doing something for yourself and they think you should be doing something for them. And I kind of hate the idea of like selfishness being a bad thing because ultimately you are the only person that's going to prioritize your health, your mental stability, your happiness, all of it. You're the only person in the world who's going to put all of that at number one. Which means if that is what people call selfish, I will be fucking selfish, okay? Like, I come first in my life because I've spent plenty of time putting everybody else first, and I just got burnt. So, fuck that, alright? I need to keep myself going. You can't fill a cup from a bucket with holes in it, for fuck's sake. So, a lot of people will have issues in this, but ultimately, you need to be a bit selfish sometimes. If somebody is draining your energy, is, you know, demanding more of you than you can give, then don't give. Give yourself that distance. You owe it to yourself first. It will feel heartless. You could even be called out for it, of being a toxic person. But ultimately, if they're demanding more than you can give, it's not fair on you. It's not fair on you to have to overexert yourself. Especially when, as we all know, you're the only person that can fix yourself, which means the other person is the only person that can fix themselves. It's not down to you to fix it anyway. And on a more practical note, travelling with a fursuit, absolute ball ache. Fucking pain in the ass. God damn. Like, the stress that comes with, oh my god, am I going to lose it? And oh my god, what if it breaks? That's bad enough. But when you come into the practical concerns of how the fuck do I keep this safe? Oh, like, I guess I'm lucky I've not had some full digi padded suit, because that would be even harder to fucking fit in. And yay for vacuum bags, because without them, how the fuck would anybody get anywhere? But my lord, you know, when you've looked a TSA agent in the eye as he looks at your fucking fursuit head and goes, what the fuck is this? You know what anxiety really feels like. But, the practical concerns of that, again, it almost puts you off doing these things. Because, you know, you might have a really great weekend in America planned, but then you've got the travel on both sides of it, and oh, I hate that shit. And finally, it's that there is a time and a place for everything. And this one comes into a lot of different factors, such as, you know, kinks, fetishes, and all of that, but also the actual furry stuff itself. Now, kinks and fetishes, time and a place, that mostly just falls down to a convention, you know. You will notice that people wearing fetish gear around the place get kind of judged, and rightly so, because, you know, keep it in the bedroom or in the meets or in its own area, because not everybody wants to be exposed to that. But more so, this point comes in with there's a time and a place for everything in your life. You know, you are a furry, but it's not 100% your identity. A lot of people will be able to get on board with it, but also a lot of people won't. And there's no sense jamming it into every aspect of your life when it could potentially be something that, you know, causes a wedge between you and someone. And, you know, I do stand by the whole point of, you know, well, if they're not going to accept it, then fuck them, you know. I do stand by that. It's something you enjoy. No one gets to, you know, just make you feel like shit for that. But, you know, we all know this. Sometimes you don't need to be wearing a tail in public to go to school. That sort of shit, you know. Like, you have to have a little bit of give and take. You have to think things through properly, because ultimately there is a time and a place for everything. There you have it. There is a little scale down video on things that I've learned. What have you learnt being in the fandom? Tell me, I would like to know. This isn't obviously a complete list. These are just things that popped into my head when I was writing a video. But yeah, it's been a journey, and it's good to look back and see the sort of things you've learned and how things have changed. It's also very good to look at the merchandise, because I will just shamelessly plug that and segue into it. And you know what else is also good? It's good to just sort of feel how far you've come down this path and see that it was all worthwhile in the end. And it's really good to do that and look at the Patreon, because that's also worth it as well. I'm just going to jam it all in there, show every fucking, you know, begging for money plot that I have. But anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully it was actually shorter and scaled down as it was intended to be. And we got another one next week. So yeah, bye.